Joan of Arc was born in 1412 in Domremy, France. She grew up in a small town with her mother and father, who were devoted Catholics. She worked on the farm with her father, Jacques, and learned how to sew with her mother, Isabel. Growing up, Joan was said to have had visions of angels.
When Joan was around 12 years old, she had a vision from Saint Michael, the archangel. Saint Michael appeared and said,
Joan, you must drive the English from French territory and bring the future King of France to Reims for his coronation.
the angel told her that she was led to the French in the battle against the English to reclaim the French throne for King Charles II. Joan continued to have visions and hear voices over the next several years. She said there were beautiful and wonderful visions from God.
When Joan turned 16, she decided it was time to listen to her visions and take action. But she was just a peasant farm girl. How was she going to get an army to defeat the English? She decided she would ask King Charles of France for an army. She first went to the local town and asked the commander of garrison, Count Baudricourt, to take her to see the king. He just laughed at her, however. Joan did not give up. Joan said to the count,
I am here on a mission from God to help defeat the English. I must be at the king's side. There will be no help if not for me. Please take me to the king.
He agreed to provide her with an escort to the royal court. When Joan traveled, she cut her hair and dressed to look like a man for her own safety.
When King Charles first met Joan, he dressed as a courtier to try to fool Joan. Joan, however, immediately approached the king and bowed to him. Joan said to the king,
Hello, my king. I was sent by God to come lead your army and help you reclaim the French throne.
At first, the king was suspicious. Should he put this young girl in charge of his army? Was she a messenger from God, or was she just crazy? Eventually, the king figured he had nothing to lose.
So the king let Joan accompany a convoy of soldiers and supplies to the city of Orleans that was under siege from the English army. They trained Joan to become a proficient fighter and an expert horse rider.
News of Joan's visions from God reached Orleans. The French people began to hope that God was going to save them from the English. When Joan arrived, the people greeted her with cheering and celebrations. They provided Joan battle armor and banner. Once they were there, she launched an attack against the English. Joan led the attack and during one battle she was wounded by an arrow. Joan was shot with an arrow between her neck and shoulder as she held her banner. Joan didn't stop fighting. She stayed with the troops, inspiring them to fight even harder. Eventually, Joan and the French army repelled the English troops and caused them to retreat from Orleans. She became the symbol of hope of the Catholic Church on the battlefield. She had won a great victory and saved the French from the English. They nicknamed Joan the Maid of Orleans.
After winning the battles of Orleans, Joan led King Charles to the city of Reims to be crowned. Joan and her army cleared the way to Reims, gaining followers as she went. After when the King Charles was crowned, he said to Joan,
Thank you, Joan, for leading my army and help me to reclaim my throne from the Englishmen.
Soon after, Joan heard that the city of Compiègne was under attack by the Burgundians, who were French-English allies. So she took a small force to help defend the city. The Burgundians' forces trapped Joan and defeated her army. Joan was captured and later sold to the English.
King Charles of France, who Joan had helped to reclaim his throne, did nothing to help her once she was captured by the English.
King Charles, Joan of Arc has been sold to the English. Should we go help her? I can't and will not help her, like she helped me. I got what I wanted.
The English held Joan as prisoner and gave her a trial to prove that she was a religious heretic. They questioned her over the course of several days, trying to find something that she had done that deserved death. They couldn't find anything wrong with her, except that she had dressed as a man. Joan wouldn't have been justified today. Standard in wearing an armor on the battlefield, men's clothing in prison, and dressing as a page boy when traveling through enemy territory because it was for her own safety. They said it was enough to deserve death and announced her guilty. The English prosecutor proclaimed,
Joan, you're guilty of cross-dressing as a man, so your punishment shall be to be burned at the stake.
Joan asked for a cross before she died, and an English soldier gave her a small wooden cross. Witnesses said that she forgave her accusers and asked them to pray for her.
I forgive all of you for this unjust punishment and for my untimely death.
She was only 19 years old when she died on May 30th, 1431 in Rouen, France. 489 years later, in 1920, Joan of Arc was proclaimed a saint of the Catholic Church by Pope Benedict XV. Joan has been revered as a martyr and viewed as an obedient daughter of the Roman Catholic Church, an early feminist and a symbol of freedom and independence. After the French Revolution, she became a national symbol of France. She is our current Thieu Tante, League of Chapter, patron saint. She was born a nobody, but died as Saint Joan of Arc, the heroine of France!